shown up this season, Kyler Murray in particular, has just put this team on his back late in games and has delivered. So, therefore, with that being said, they find themselves in the key real rankings for the first time this year at lucky number 7, like you mentioned, Zubin.
But that was a lucky win that they had against the Buffalo Bills the other day.
That's fair.
But I think we'll find out about the Arizona Cardinals this Thursday when they go up to Seattle to play the Seahawks. I mean, you know they got the best of them in overtime when they played a few weeks ago. But this will tell me whether or not the Cardinals are for real or are they false flagging. If somehow, some way, Kyler Murray is able to take this team on the road and win that game, not only do you have to say that they're one of the favorites, they're the favorites in the NFC West, but you also got to start putting Kyler Murray in the MVP conversation.
Number 6.
L.A. Rams.
The heat was a factor because we allowed it to be based on how we played the game.
Look, the Rams have been in and out of the key real rankings all year long. They find themselves back in at number 6. I really like this team, not because I'm a homer from Los Angeles, because I'm not a Rams fan. I just think that if they could somehow continue to keep Jared Goff clean and upright and not allow him to make the same mistakes he made against the Miami Dolphins with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, they certainly can make some noise because some of these guys on this team were on that Super Bowl team. Sean McVay has some major experience now as a head coach in the National Football League. He doesn't have to lean heavy on Wade Phillips anymore, who's not there. So I think this team is one of those real teams that's going to hover around the NFC West and into the playoffs toward the latter part of the year.
The only thing that keeps me from going all in on the Rams is Jared Goff. I just don't trust him. It's almost like you're waiting on the other shoe to drop. So far, we've gotten good Jared Goff this season, but I think that's because of the defense and how they're playing. Sean McVay doesn't have to ask his quarterback to take a lot of chances. So defense is legit. Second-ranked defense in the National Football League. They're a for-real team. How far they can go depends on their quarterback.
Number 5.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Looking forward to getting out of here and going back to Vegas.
Vegas. Now, despite what you may think, I think about John Gruden, he's a hell of a football coach. Maybe a little weird at times, but he's a hell of a football coach. He certainly knows how to energize his team to get them to buy in, to believe that they are the leaders of the pack. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs a couple weeks ago. Kansas City was supposed to run the table at 16-0 and be that team that was going to challenge the Miami Dolphins. He took care of that business. Now you got the Raiders in a position where I believe they could potentially be the second or the third best team in the whole entire AFC behind the Kansas City and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow, that's a strong statement.
It is,
strong statement.
Number 4.
Green Bay Packers.
RELAX. Relax.
He continues to say that without saying it because every time that the Green Bay Packers have a hiccup, the first thing everyone says is, he needs to go get a receiver. Oh, I can't believe this. Stop, chill. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. He knows what he's doing. He's got his team into the NFC Championship game at 13-3 a year ago. He has them on the verge and the brink of going back to the NFC Championship again this year. They're going to win the division. I know Minnesota is playing better. I know Chicago hasn't figured it out. Detroit is Detroit. They're going to wind up getting possibly that first-round bye if the New Orleans Saints come back to them. If New Orleans can't continue to win, I think when you look at it, it'll be the Green Bay Packers with the number 1 seed out of the NFC. And Aaron Rodgers will have people in Green Bay in minus weather in the month of January. Imagine that. With no receivers.
Number 3.
New Orleans Saints. Look, last week I had them at number 2. I dropped them to 3. You say why? They won the game. Well, because they take a little bit of a step back with Jameis Winston at quarterback because he won't get the full playbook. Sean Payton will tailor things down so that Jameis Winston can have success, but they'll still be one of the top 3 teams in the conference. And it's always nepotism because of Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is yet to break out this season. I'm looking forward this next game to him really smashing it and breaking it out and getting over 100 yards with Jameis Winston at the quarterback position.
Number 2.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
The last game was the last game. This one was this one.
The last game was the last game, and this one is different.
Hard to argue with that.
It is, right? and any time Ben Roethlisberger, or any quarterback for that matter, can come out and perform the way that he performed despite not practicing all week long, over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns in the air last week. What can you say? I mean, other than Mike Tomlin is one of the top coaches in the National Football League, I think we all know that. You know, he's been criticized in the past about only being a rah-rah guy on the sideline. 8-8 last year with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
Undefeated with Ben Roethlisberger. Mm-hmm. Just saying. All I'm saying is you got to watch out for Pittsburgh.
Number 1.
The Kansas City Chiefs. This is chefs, depending on who you asking.
I'm going to go get the biggest cheeseburger you've ever seen. Prime, the biggest one. And might be a double.
Cheeseburger, chef, all go together for Andy Reid, I'm sure. But when you look at it, Big Red Andy Reid has this team playing fire hot right now. I think this offense and Patrick Mahomes has pushed himself way past Russell Wilson for the MVP conversation. Russell Wilson early on in the year was a favorite. He since has slid all the way down to number 5 for me. Kyler Murray's passed him up. But when you talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and all the different weapons and just what they do, the defense playing better, Andy Reid is one of the top coaches in the National Football League. Got his first Super Bowl victory last year. I don't see why they couldn't repeat again this year unless the Raiders get them.
How about that? The Raiders already have one game in hand. And oh, by the way, Sunday Night Football this week, Kansas City at Las Vegas. So a measure of revenge perhaps for the Chiefs, or maybe the Raiders say, hey, not only did we beat you one time, we've got your number. Want to quickly mention 7 minutes from now, Giannis gets a little bit of help that he's been asking for. And the first $50 million a year player in the NBA, the first guy that had an opportunity to cash $50 million for one season, said, no thanks. That's in 6 minutes. Chris, I want to get your thoughts quickly here on Key's Real Rankings. I know you weighed in towards the bottom, but the top 3, Kansas City at 1, Pittsburgh at 2, New Orleans at 3. That's how Key sees it. How do you see it?
Top 2 I got no problem with. I think those are clearly the best 2 teams in the National Football League. Number 3 with New Orleans, I would circle that one. I might drop them down below the Green Bay Packers just because they're going to be missing their quarterback for a few weeks. And just based on Aaron Rodgers playing at an elite level, I just feel like the top end of what they bring to the table is greater than what New Orleans has. And moving on down the list, I would probably swap out the Rams for the Buccaneers. Even though they got blasted a couple of weeks ago by the Saints, I still think the Bucs are a really good football team, and they showed it down there in Carolina. They beat up on the Panthers, a well-coached team, even though they don't have a lot of talent. But I like the way that defense for the Bucs is trending, and they'll be a lot better later on in the season in comparison to where they're at now. And Tom Brady's still trying to find his way with those weapons. So, I mean, it's a solid list, a tweak here, a tweak there, but I'm on board with most of this.
Well, the good thing for you is that the Rams will play the Buccaneers here in a couple of weeks, and you'll be able to decide which of those 2 teams are the better ones. But in the meantime, this is my real ranking. So, therefore, we're going to stick with that.
Indeed. You're going to see the Rams and the Bucs on Monday Night Football. That's our big next Monday Night Football game. So we'll kind of get a litmus test on Tampa, especially now with Jameis Winston probably taking over for at least the next few weeks. And the Bucs sitting there right now at 7-3 with the Saints at 7-2, with the reminder that New Orleans has beaten them twice already. So they have that tiebreaker game in hand if it comes down to it at the end of the season. Yes.
Did you leave any beverages for anybody else? I mean, I'm sitting here. I'm like.
So if you're watching on ESPN News this morning, Key is referencing the fact that I have the bladder of a camel, because right now I have 3 bottles of water and a sugar-free Red Bull, which I stole from Key because that's Key's drink of choice this morning. I didn't really ask your permission for that.
It's all good.
I needed the energy this morning.
I'm like, Zubin. I'm like, come on, man. Leave something for somebody else.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I'm thirsty. I got to keep up with you. I need the energy all morning long. In just a couple of minutes, we'll talk to a Super Bowl champion on what he saw from 2 teams that are probably about as far away from the Super Bowl as you could get last night on Monday Night Football. That's Jeff Saturday. He won, of course, with Peyton Manning
but see, I wouldn't
and
say
the
that
Colts.
About Minnesota, though.
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean, obviously they won 3 in a row.
I wouldn't say, it's one of those weird years where all of a sudden a team start off slow and then they get this momentum. And then all of a sudden they wind up getting that 7th, that 8th seed. They just think about what Tennessee was able to do last year, 9-7.
Sneak in, end Tom Brady's career in New England.
And then
beat the hottest team in the league, Lamar Jackson.
Yes. And then all of a sudden the momentum goes, and then you look up and they're in the playoffs and they're playing, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God. They're in the AFC Championship game. Can you believe this?
Take me inside as a couple of players. The biggest thing that Kirk Cousins had been dealing with, besides this ridiculous he can't win on Monday Night Football, it's just like an arbitrary date. Right, it's an arbitrary date. Who cares? It's a Monday. But the biggest thing on him is he hadn't really won a playoff game. Mm-hmm. And last year they go to New Orleans and win one in the Dome down there in incredible fashion. When something like that is lifted, understanding that was just a wild card game, if something like that is lifted and the next time around you're in, what does that do?
It certainly helps you, right? It because you've been there before. You know what the temperature is. You understand the speed of the playoff game. Because when you think about it, from the preseason, which they didn't have this year, to the regular season, as you start to get out of the regular season, the speed of the game just heightens. As you get into the playoffs, things just all of a sudden, man, is faster, more detailed. You're more laser focused. All of those sort of things, and you miss the next time you get back, it's more to it now. Now you know what to expect. I understand what's getting ready to happen. I understand the environment. I understand the importance of it. So the second time around, third time around, you tend to deliver.
Yeah, confidence comes from demonstrated performance. And to Key's point, when everything gets faster, you have the emphasis on being able to execute, especially in situational football. So third down, red zone, 2 minute, all of the little things, those add up to be big things, especially when you're going up against better competition. So Kirk Cousins having going down to the Dome and being able to win a playoff game on the road, that's a lot of confidence. The guys in the locker room are going to believe in him if they are able to find themselves in that situation. And with the expanded playoff field, anything can happen in the second half. This team is going in the right direction.
Oh, yeah, I forgot it's expanded.
Yep, 7 teams this year in each conference where only the top seed will get the bye. And to Chris's point, which is a great one, if the Vikings do sneak in, they'll probably be like the 6 or 7, so they're going to have to do it on the road the way they